Hi, okay, let's go ahead and finish out this chapter. Now, your AutoCAD tutorial for this chapter begins on page 2 seconds. Page 36. No, sorry, it begins earlier than that. Begins on page 22. So start on page 22 and make sure you go through the setup that they describe. And you can see here that I've got all the layers that they ask you that the textbook includes set up already. So be sure and go through and set up all your layers. Now, when you're doing that, note that we're using something we haven't used before, and that is the line weight. Up until now, we've let the line weight stay at default, but good practice in all of our drawings is to have different line weights for different purposes. To change your line weight, you can just click in the column that says line weight, and you've got all of these options, so you can just click on the one that you want for any given line, just like you did when you chose the color. You'll also notice that there is a different line type. You will again need to use the load command to load all of the necessary line types that you need. Pay attention to the grid setup, and you should, before you watch this video, have your drawing in the state pictured on my screen. Now, that brings us to step 4 on page 620. That actually brings us all the way to step 5 on page 6. Step 3 on page 628, because I haven't filleted yet. So you'll notice, so I'm on page 628, step 3 is where we're at right now. Almost. I need to put in one center line. So I'm going to go ahead and change my layer to center lines. Excuse me. And what I'm doing is I'm transferring this center mark to my side view. And I need to change something here. So let me change. I forgot to, nope, that's correct. I'm all right. Okay. So there is my center line. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my construction lines. And now we, my center line doesn't look right. That is some weirdness. Let me try that again. That is not the right type of center line. Oh, there we go. Okay. There. Okay. Now we can go ahead and continue. I'm going to change my layer back to object lines, because now what I want to do is I want to round these corners. And we're going to round these corners using the fillet command. It's right here. And if I click on this, the first thing it says is specify object, but that's not really what I want to do. First thing I want to do is tell AutoCAD what my fillet radius is going to be. So I'm going to right click and choose radius and specify that to be 0.5, because this guy, I want his fillet to be 0.5. So now I get to select the first object and the second object, and you can see AutoCAD gives me a little preview of what it's going to do. And we will right click and we're done. So when we click on that second object, we're done with the fillet command. So let's go ahead and fillet the rest of our corners to 0.25. So we're going to repeat fillet, right click, choose radius, enter 0.25, click enter on your keyboard, and then select the two corners that we want to fillet. We'll fix that gap in a second. Let's just go ahead and do the rest of these. My radius is still the same, so I'm going to go ahead and fillet this. And that. And that corner. Okay, now you can see that when we filleted, we ended up with a little gap right here. We can fix that using a different option under the trim command. Let's use extend. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend this line to meet this one. So just like with trim, we first select the edge that we're going to use, either as our cutting edge or that we want to go to. So we're going to do this one. And I'm going to right click and select, oh shoot, that won't work. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. There's a couple of different ways to handle this. The easiest way is just erase this line and put a new one in. This one, and take it right down to there and enter. Okay. Go ahead and save your design at this point. And I've already saved mine, so I'm going to save it. You should save yours to a thumb drive or your hard drive if you're not on a campus computer that's got deep freeze installed on it. So save it someplace you can get to it. We're now on page 631, and we're going to actually start talking about dimensioning. You may notice on my screen I've got a new toolbar. This guy is the dimension toolbar. You can get to him by going up here to, there are several different ways to get to dimension. You can either click there on dimensions, and that's always accessible to you. You can also get to dimension right here in your annotation bar, or you can go to Tools, Toolbars, AutoCAD, and choose the Dimension toolbar. And if you click on that, then that will give you one of those floating toolbars that you can put anywhere on your screen just by clicking on the end handle. Right there is my object tracking toolbar, and this now is my dimensioning toolbar, and you really can literally put it anywhere in the screen. We'll just put it right there for now. Okay, this dimension toolbar gives you a full set of options, much fuller than what you've got in the annotation section, although it's got everything that the dimension menu also has, all of these same options, but the toolbar is much more convenient. So let's go ahead and set up our dimension style. To do that, we click on this little guy here. I encourage you to move your mouse around over these icons and see what all's on this toolbar. But for right now, we're just going to worry about the dimension style. And what we're going to do, I've already done this, but I want you to do it. Click on New. And type in the name Mechanical. So if you click on, start on Standard, and then click New, type in the name Mechanical, and then hit Continue. Now, these are all the options you'll get when you click on that continue. So go through, starting on page 34, and make those settings as the text indicates on page 34. One of the things I want to point out to you is this scale. So remember that when we do AutoCAD drawings, we always draw to the real world dimensions. And we're going to learn today why that is, because with AutoCAD, we can scale this automatically, or dimension everything automatically. This scale doesn't refer to, it refers to the size of the dimensioning text. In this example, we are just going to use a scale of 1 because our drawing will fit on a standard size piece of paper. If, however, we want to print it bigger, we would need to change our scale. You can allow AutoCAD to adjust that scale automatically depending on what page layout you choose, and we'll talk about that later. For now, just set everything up as indicated on the text, starting on page 34. Okay? Once you've got that all done, so set your lines, set your line extension to be 0.125. Make your symbols, your arrows be 0.125. Your center marks, set them to line and 0.125. So center marks dictate how we mark the center of a circle. You can have a mark, you can have nothing, or we can have lines. We want lines. Make your text be 1/8 of an inch, 0.125 high. And go ahead and go with horizontal. You can also set them to be aligned with the dimension line, and you can see what that looks like. Or you can do an ISO standard, which is a little different, but we're going to do horizontal. We're going to center them both vertically and horizontally, and we're going to view from left to right. Set your fit to be either text or arrows, best fit. What this does is, if you choose arrows, it means the arrow is always inside. If you choose text, it means the text is always inside. We're going to do best fit. Just let AutoCAD figure that out for us. When the text is not in the default position, we're going to place it beside the dimension line. Scale of 1. Primary unit should be decimal with a precision of 2. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. And when you're all done, just click OK and then close. Actually, one thing before you do that, make sure you click on mechanical and click set current and then say close. That sets mechanical as the dimension style we're going to use. Okay, so now we are going to start putting some annotations on our drawing. The first thing we're going to do is put on our center marks. So click on the center mark icon and then click on this arc. Whoops, don't do that yet. Set your layer to center lines. Now click on the center mark icon. Click on the radius 1.75 arc, that one, and then do that again, repeat center mark, and add that to the small circle as well. Okay, now let's put in some linear dimensions. Let's change our layer to dimensions and click on the linear dimensions. Now click on one endpoint of the line you want to dimension, the feature you want to dimension, and then click on the other. And then just pick a point that's about 1/2 inch down from that line. There you go. Just that quick, we've added a dimension. So go ahead and turn over to page 638 and add all of the linear dimensions shown there. We're going to do a linear dimension. Just click, click, and click again. Repeat dimension. Click, click, and click. And just keep on adding all of those dimensions until you've got everything shown. Notice that whatever edges I pick, that's where my leader lines gap from. So be aware of that. Let's go ahead and line this up nice and neat. Okay. Okay, just that quick, I've added all of those linear dimensions. This is one of the things that makes computer-aided drafting so very convenient. Let's put on some dimensions for our arcs and circles. So let's start with this big arc. Remember, arcs are dimensioned to the radius, so we're going to click on the radius and click on this one. And we'll just put that line right about there. Now let's also dimension this little guy here. You can see that as you move your cursor around where your dimension goes, it changes. So we'll just do that. And we also want to dimension this angle right here. We can do that. Oh, let's do our circles first. So I picked the dimension, diameter. Click on this circle and put his diameter radius on. And this one, oops, gotta tell AutoCAD what we want to do with it. We want its diameter. There we go. Now we can have AutoCAD tell us what this angle is with our angular dimension. Click on the slanted line. And then you got to click on the second line. Okay. Angle. Click on the first line. Click on the second line. Oh, not a dimension line, this line down here. And then, depending on, again, where you put your cursor, depends on where you put your angle. I'll put it right there. Okay. You should now have all of your dimensions added. We are all the way to page 39. And now let's talk about text. There are two different ways to get notes on AutoCAD drawings. They're both under this text bar, or text. This is one way to get to it. There are others, But if we click here, you can either have multi-line text or single-line text. Single-line text means that each line is treated as a block in AutoCAD. Multi-line text means that each line or each block of text is treated as a single block, and each block can be multiple lines. So we're going to use multi-line text. And the first thing AutoCAD wants is to know what's the first corner. So pick a corner somewhere down here in the lower right-hand area of our drawing. Textbook says to go somewhere near 1, 1.5 on the world coordinate system, so that'll do. Now, AutoCAD really wants the opposite corner, but before I want to tell it how high I want my text to be first. So I'm going to right-click and choose height and enter in 0.125, and then click enter, touch enter on my keyboard. Now I'm going to tell it, all right, you can fit all the text in that block. And now I've got a text entry spot, and I'm just going to type rounds and fillets, radius 0.25. And if I hit enter, then it'll give me another line. I don't have anything else to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and close the text editor. And my text appears on my drawing. You can add special characters to these using the codes that are on page 41 in your text. So if I put on another text, we'll do single line text. And single line text, you don't have to give it an endpoint. If you right click, you can choose justify and style. So I'm just going to left click, and so that wants my height, which 1.25 will do. And I just want it to be horizontal, so an angle of 0. And now I can test out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type %% C. And it changes that to the diameter symbol. So let's test something else. Now if I hit enter, no, it gives me another line. It shouldn't have. So let's go ahead and hit enter, and let's test %% D. It gives me the degree symbol, and %% P gives me plus minus. So you can get your special characters in your written text if you need them. Okay. And I'm just going to take that out because I don't want it. Save my drawing. And that is it for this chapter. I do want you to be sure and read that special note on layers containing dimensions on page 42 in your text. It's one of the things you should be aware of. So complete the assignment that is indicated on eCompanion. You will be creating some drawings. All right, I will see you all again soon.